Choosing the right project management tools for your business can make the difference between spending an extra 40 hours in managing people and tasks versus taking that time to invest in actually growing your business. I know this best because over the past 10 years, I've helped over 300 business owners choose the right tools and systems to implement in their businesses to help save time and to streamline their operations. So to help you choose the right project management tool for your business, I'm going to be ranking the tools from S tier through D tier and telling you exactly what you need to know to choose the right tool based on your business needs. So to start us off, let's talk about a tool that's probably nostalgic for a lot of us, and that is Trello. And Trello is like everyone's first project management tool. It's kind of like getting your first apartment. It's cheap, it's easy, and eventually you're going to outgrow it. Now, Trello really popularized the Kanban board. They took basically Post-it notes and put them in the cloud, made it super visual, drag and drop style for people to manage their tasks. And it's still really easy to use. You can extend it a bit by adding power-ups to add additional functionality and integrations. But at some point, growing teams just kind of evolve from Trello because the reporting's not very strong. There's not really a great hierarchy structure. And to be honest, it really feels like the company hasn't innovated a lot since they were acquired by Atlassian. Now, ironically, I find in some companies that they use such complicated project management tools that individuals still track their own tasks on Trello because of how easy it is. Trello has a pretty generous free plan. Their standard plan starts at $5 USD per month. This is about as cheap as it gets. And to see an enterprise plan for $17.50 per user, that's pretty laughable. That's about as cheap as it gets for enterprise plans. Now, Trello, I love you for my personal pet projects, but when it comes to using you on a team, I gotta give you a C. Next, let's talk about ClickUp. Now, ClickUp is extremely flexible. You get tasks and docs and chat and knowledge management and time tracking, and now they're building AI agents. In fact, ClickUp brands itself as the everything app for work. So they've got this huge scope that they're building for. And with all of this innovation and product development, ClickUp is kind of going one by one and replacing all of these different tools that you might have in your ecosystem. That plus solid automation and customization means that ClickUp can really mold around your business processes. Now, there are a couple downsides to this. One is that because of all of this functionality, it can sometimes get a little bit overwhelming as a new user. Now, typically that's not an issue because it's still a pretty good user experience. But then the other thing that this is paired with is that oftentimes there's just kind of bugginess and lagginess that happens in the application as well. Some people go so far as to say, hey, instead of pushing out all of these new features, can you guys focus on some of the existing ones for a while and fix that up? But it seems that they are really gung-ho about releasing new features. One thing to watch out for if you are on a paid plan of ClickUp is that sometimes the definitions change of what are paid features or what needs to go to the next plan, or you consume up to a certain limit and now you're forced to upgrade, or there's just billing surprises. So really keep a close eye on your bill and keep in mind that these changes tend to occur from time to time. There's a really generous free forever plan. The unlimited plan starts at $7 per user per month. And overall, this is really affordable compared to a lot of other project management tools. So ClickUp, with all the functionality that you're getting at such a reasonable price and the ability to really customize a lot of this, this is going in the S tier. Zoho Projects is like the Toyota Corolla of project management software. It's not sexy, but it's going to reliably get you from point A to point B for several years. Zoho Projects is going to give you really good feature depth for a really affordable price. It's got strong time tracking features and reporting features, and it's really well integrated within the Zoho ecosystem, especially if you're using tools like Zoho CRM and their books, their invoicing software. Zoho's also really known for strong flexibility and customization. Now, the downsides, it is a pretty dated UI. It's not going to be the easiest tool to onboard with, and the free plan is pretty limited. That free plan, you only get 3 projects, but the plans are super affordable. So starting at $4 a user, again, super cheap, and then enterprise at $9 a user, even cheaper than when we were talking about Trello. You can also buy this through Zoho One, which you can get for $37 per employee, which is going to come with over 45 business applications. So really pretty much any software that you could think of for your team. So if you're looking for pretty straightforward project management functionality at a price you really can't beat, That's Zoho Projects, and we're giving it an A. Basecamp is extremely simple and intuitive. It combines tasks and chat and docs. And when software is really easy to use for your team, that's where you're going to experience much higher adoption rates and it's going to work better all around. But they're missing automation features, there's no task dependencies, and there's really basic reporting. And to be honest, it feels pretty stagnant in the innovation department. Basecamp's pricing is pretty interesting. There's a free plan, but you only get a single project, so to me it feels more like a free trial. They've got a standard plan that they call Plus. That's $15 per user per month. But the crazy one is their Pro Unlimited. This you can get for $299 a month. It's billed annually, but it gives you everything you need. And what's crazy here, even in their FAQ, could we really add 1,000 users and still pay that amount? Yes, you can. So that's this capped price. If you run a larger company with more simplistic needs, then Basecamp and their pricing is pretty much unheard of. So Basecamp has an innovative pricing model. They're missing some features, but it's really easy to use. And so for that, we're going to give them a B. If you've ever spent 2 hours writing a ticket to fix a broken ticket, congratulations, you've used Jira. Jira has some amazing features for engineers. They support Scrum and Kanban, backlogs, sprints, issue types, versioning, release planning. Pretty much everything you need in an engineering organization, you can do with Jira. And of course, you get deep integration with tools like GitHub and Bitbucket. But it is massive overkill for all these teams that are trapped within their engineering organization. Maybe you're marketing operations, but you're an engineering organization, and all you want to do is track the statuses of these tickets. And here you are trapped in this behemoth. Now, Jira does have a free plan for up to 10 users. And like the engineers they are with their perfectly crafted algorithms, their standard plan starts at $9.05 per user per month. Jira, for all the engineers, you're great, but for all the other teams, you are not, and that's why we're giving Jira a D. Airtable combines the simplicity of a spreadsheet with APIs, automations, and a solidly built database. You can customize it for just about any workflow you'd like. And that's why for a lot of organizations, they like building kind of hybrid CRM and project management systems on top of Airtable. But Airtable's kind of like getting a box of Legos without any instructions with it. Yes, you can build what you want, but it's just not intuitively set up as a project management system. So you'll get your Gantt charts and timelines, but then if you start creating multiple bases to track projects, there's no real unified way to be able to see tasks across all of those different areas. And the way that Airtable prices feels a little bit more technical in nature. Yes, they have a free plan, which is almost unusable, especially because they track the actual number of records in a base. So records is going to be your combined total of your tasks and your projects and your customers. Each one of those is going to be a record. And that's where people are going to be forced to upgrade. So once you start getting into the business plan at $45 per seat per month, that's starting to get pretty expensive when we're talking about project management software. Airtable's a really solid choice because you can turn it into whatever you want. But if you're looking for more traditional project management, this isn't the best fit. Because of its flexibility to really be tailored to your business, we're giving it an A. Hive has a really polished user interface, and they've got messaging, time tracking, workflows, and approvals, proofing, all in one tidy package. I find it to be pretty intuitive to use, which is impressive given the amount of functionality it has. I find that the biggest cons for the platform happen in the pricing. They've got a great free plan, it's a good way to get started, and they have a starter plan which is only $5 a month per user. But that plan only covers up to 10 workspace members and up to 10 projects. That's a super small number of projects for a paid tool. So in all reality, unless you have a really small team, you're probably going to be paying for the team's tier. But the stranger part is how many add-ons that they have. So you can put in your number of users, but then you start adding, oh yeah, I want proofing and approvals. Oh, that jumped up. Now I want timesheets. Now I want team resourcing. Now I want advanced dashboards. Now I want automations. Well, all of that starts to add up pretty quickly. So Hive's got a good interface, but being saturated with all these bundled add-ons is going to keep this at a B. Monday.com has a strong visual interface, it's easy to use, and they've got plenty of advanced features like automations. It's similar to ClickUp in many ways, but it feels like there's less of this overkill bloat with all of the features that ClickUp adds. I'd also say that Monday has an advantage over ClickUp in terms of its architecture. It's a little bit more like Airtable, where it's kind of a database, instead of ClickUp, which is just lists of tasks. Now, I think their biggest limitation is really in how they handle pricing. They have a free plan, which gives you up to 3 boards, a little bit limiting, and only up to 2 users. But the part that frustrates a lot of users is that you can't buy just a single seat. You have to buy a minimum of 3 seats. And so if you're buying their basic tier at $9 a seat per month, well, really, you're buying 3 of them. So the minimum that you can pay is $27 per month. And it doesn't end there even when you get larger, because then you're buying by increments of 5, 10, 15, 20. It only goes up. So that means you're paying for software that you're not even really using with those user seats. But despite some of the pricing issues, given how flexible Monday is, they're definitely in the same tier as ClickUp, which is the S tier. You ever meet that one guy whose whole claim to fame is something they did way back in high school? That's kind of how I feel about GanttPRO, wrapping up your whole identity around a Gantt chart. But to be fair, they've matured a bit in recent years. They've got pretty robust planning features such as supporting dependencies, milestones, auto scheduling, critical path, baselines, deadlines, and progress tracking. And overall, they have a more intuitive UI than something like Microsoft Project. Still, it's heavily Gantt-centric, and you could probably ask for a little bit more in terms of the reporting that they provide. They don't have a free plan. They do have a free trial. Their core pricing starts at $7 USD, but it's really weird to me. Some of these features to gate, such as overdue tasks, are available on the $10 plan. So for being a bit of a one-trick pony and some silliness around pricing, GanttPRO is a C. SmartSuite takes some of the work management flexibility from tools like Monday and ClickUp and then combines it with database functionality of Airtable. It's got strong automations, it's easy to use, but it can be buggy sometimes, especially when it comes to their automations and formulas. They've got a free plan available and pricing starts at $12 per user per month, but I'm really not a fan of these minimum users, and they have a different variant than Monday's. So they have a minimum of 3 on team, but if you want the features of professional, which granted you do because only 5,000 records a solution isn't a lot, now you have to have a minimum of 5 billable users. And their enterprise, while I appreciate that they publish the pricing, again, you have to have a minimum of 10 billable users. So we've got the power of the work management systems like Monday and ClickUp, but with these pricing tiers, it's definitely not as attractive for smaller teams. So we're going to give them an A. Asana is one of those tools that's just good at project management. It's got a little bit of the work management functionality, but it doesn't pack in all of this additional bloat that you see in tools like ClickUp and Monday. If you're familiar with CRM systems, I feel the same way about Pipedrive for CRMs as I do Asana for project management. It's just a practical system that's easy to use and gets the job done. And Asana is more opinionated than some other project management tools. For example, each task can only have a single assignee. Now, some people might hate that. They want more flexibility that you could assign a task to multiple people. But Asana's philosophy is, hey, this task is always owned by a single person. Who owns that task? Who's responsible for it? So if you don't like a tool to be opinionated, Asana is probably not the right choice for you. But on the other hand, if you want to onboard a team and have them know exactly what to do, then Asana works in a certain way that just clicks for most people. Asana has a free plan for up to 10 teammates, and then they have their starter plan at $10.99 per user per month. Though Asana doesn't pack a lot of the extra features that ClickUp or Monday does, it's really good at what it does do, which is project management. And for that reason, we're putting it in the S tier. Is it just me, or does Soloxis sound like a drug for geriatric men? In any case, I use Soloxis, the project management tool, for a while. It's got great resource planning and budget tracking. If you've got a really solid PSA organization and you need something more robust, I think this is a pretty good tool for you. Now, it does have a little bit more outdated of a user experience, and the onboarding and learning curve is probably going to be a little bit trickier. It also lacks some of the integration firepower of other SaaS tools. Their pricing starts at $10 a user, but then they have all of these different user tiers alongside the pricing tiers. So for example, you have a standard user, and then you've got team members and timesheet users and clients and read-only. I'm used to having maybe 2 tiers, like you've got read-only users, But this is a lot of different options, which on one hand, you could say, hey, this is better because then we don't have to pay as much depending on what kinds of users that we have. But it's a lot to be thinking about and managing as well. So Solaxis is a bit more niche and a bit more enterprisey, but overall, I'd give it a B. So this next one, Slack, makes me laugh a little bit. So Slack has come out with some new functionality around lists and canvases, and you can do some really kind of light project management in there. And so I want to reiterate that Slack, at least at this point in its evolution, is not really a project management tool. Like, yes, you can do some really light stuff like I was talking about with their newer functionality, but still, it's really easy to get lost in there, and it's not really easy to keep track of things. And so it's a really strong communication platform, which we use. We use Slack Connect, and we connect to our clients, and we have messaging back and forth. But we still use a traditional project management system to handle all of our actual heavy lifting. So I get that a lot of small businesses are like, hey, we're already paying for a Slack subscription. Wouldn't it be great if we could just double down on this? So I get it. And if you do it, you do it. It's just not the most efficient thing. But overall, if you're using their Pro plan, which is $725 a month per user, then you're going to get access to those new lists and canvas functionalities. So Slack, I love you as a communication tool, but as a project management tool, it's a C. Hey, if you've made it this far and you're really interested in the right tools for your team, come check out our website at softwarefinds.com. We've built tons of review and comparison tools. We've got charts. We've got the ability to actually add your own weight so it tailors a list based on your needs. So check that out. It's free at softwarefinds.com. Smartsheet is another familiar spreadsheet type interface really designed for the enterprise. If your team is already heavily using spreadsheets and you're looking to migrate to something that feels comfortable, then Smartsheet might be one to look at. And I think this kind of tool makes a lot of sense to use if you're really data heavy. But if I'm honest, I don't love that they have all of these upsell add-on features. And a lot of them just feel like no-brainers that would be present in other applications already. Like, hey, you want a calendar app? Aha, pay for our calendar app. You want a pivot table? Aha, pay for our pivot app. Pricing starts at $9 per member per month, but remember you have all of those add-ons. So Smartsheet overall, I'm giving an A because I think they play kind of a unique role in the space. I really think there was a marketing dude who's like, hey, if we buy projectmanager.com, then we'll get all the SEO juice. Whenever anyone looks for project manager, they'll find us. Overall, it's a pretty balanced feature set. It's got solid dashboards and reporting. And I think this works if you're looking for more traditional project management functionality like resource management, workload balancing, dependencies, and task hierarchies. But I do think it can be a little bit intimidating to learn if you're new to project management. And overall, the pace of innovation seems slower. Pricing starts at $14 per user per month, but I think it's kind of weird that not only do they have a maximum number of users, you can only have up to 10, but you have a maximum number of projects of 20 before they bump you to their business tier at $26. So I'm not in love with that. Definitely don't love the pricing mechanism here, but if you're looking for more of a traditional project management tool, this might be a good fit for you. Overall, I'm giving this a B. TeamGantt has solid Gantt and timeline features, a nice UI, and pretty good collaboration features too. It's got more advanced resource and workload views and baselining in higher plans as well. So this can help with balancing your team assignments and comparing the actual plan versus progress. They have a free plan, but that's limited to 1 project and 40 tasks, so to me that feels just like a free trial. They also have a really unique pricing model where you're paying $49 a month per manager, the project manager. So that means only managers can create projects, that makes sense, but only managers can create tasks or reschedule tasks. I don't know, that's starting to get a little bit fishy to me. So if this aligns with your process exactly, great, but if not, then you're kind of paying a lot per user if each person would be a manager. And there's add-ons on top of that. So you want project health report or cost-loaded scheduling. Those ones I can see you'd pay an additional charge, but custom boards, I don't know. When you're going up against the Mondays and the ClickUps of the world and you're charging an extra $79 a month for custom boards, that just doesn't really sit well with me. Now they do have an unlimited everything plan with unlimited managers. So I think what they're really trying to do is like, hey, let's make this kind of ridiculous plan over here and then push people to unlimited everything. But I really wish they'd be more transparent about their pricing rather than having us go to sales. And to be fair, a lot of the features on both plans are more robust in project management than your work management tools. Things like workloads and baselines and portfolio management and certain milestone activities as well. So kind of funky pricing model, which could be good, could be bad depending on, but a lot of good functionality. Overall, we're giving TeamGantt a B. Harvest isn't a project management tool, it's really more like a stopwatch with invoicing attached. In all honesty, Harvest has a great user interface, and I know tons of companies that love using it for their time tracking. It's got awesome integrations to project management tools, and so for those PM tools that don't actually handle the time tracking and invoicing, it's a really solid add-on. But it really lacks traditional project management structure, and the reporting's not that great aside from the time tracking. So I really wouldn't recommend being one of those companies that tries to use Harvest as the actual project management tool. Think of it more as an add-on. So Microsoft is practically the grandfather of the Gantt chart era with Microsoft Project. But then Microsoft created Planner and To-Do, and even Loop has some of this functionality. So what should you do when you have these four products that kind of overlap and no one knows exactly how you should use them? You should do the Microsoft thing and then jam all these features together and rebrand it and give it a really catchy title. So as of this summer 2025, there is no more Microsoft Project Online. You can still buy the offline version of it. That's kind of a different thing. But then we have what we call Microsoft Planner. So Microsoft Planner Plan 1 and Microsoft Planner and Project Plan 3 and Planner and Project Plan 5. Formerly Project Plan 5 is now Planner and Project Plan 5. But it is, to me, all over the place still of what's included on which plan and how they are branding this. So for this reason, at this point in time, we're going to give this a D. D for dysfunction. Notion is very aesthetic in nature, and it combines our tasks and our databases and our documents. It's super customizable. Creative teams love it. If you're doing a lot of documentation and SOPs and things of that nature, I think you're going to enjoy using Notion. It does take a certain person with kind of the know-how to set it up, and you got to really kind of keep it in check, or else it's just going to expand into this behemoth. I'll be honest that the marketing agencies that I've worked with who have operated out of Slack and Notion are not the most organized people I've ever met. But it really can be a powerful tool if you use it the right way. There is a free plan for Notion, but it's kind of quirky with how many blocks that you get. And then once you've used all your blocks, now you're forced to upgrade. So probably if you're going to use it as your project management tool, you'll be using a paid plan, which starts at $10 per member per month. If your organization is document heavy and you're willing to put in the work to set it up the right way, then I think it could be a really good fit for you. Overall, I'd give Notion an A. Coda is like Notion for people who think that Notion isn't nerdy enough. You can combine docs and spreadsheets and tables and automations all into a single canvas. You can add custom workflows, buttons, and automations all inside docs. Essentially, you can build your own custom tools and mini applications. But compared to Notion, I'd say this is an even steeper learning curve. It's super powerful, but you really have to have that builder's mindset, and it's probably helpful if you have someone who's pretty technical on the team. Coda shares a lot of similarities with Airtable as well, where you're kind of really building this the way you want it to be. And that can be powerful for some teams, or it can be intimidating for others. Coda has a free plan, but you're most certainly going to be pushed to the pro plan at $10, or even to Team to really do your core project management. But what's unique is that you're paying per doc maker, not necessarily the people who are editing. So what that means is like the project manager could be the doc maker and they could own the structure of that, but you could have other people collaborating and updating tasks without actually paying for additional licenses. So even though it's a higher per user cost, you might not have to pay for as many users. So I very much like Coda, but I think it takes even more of a builder mindset than Notion. And for that reason, I'm actually bumping it down a tier to the B tier, whereas Notion we're leaving at the A tier. These are two very comparable products in many ways, but I think it's just going to take a little bit extra to get your project management up and running. If you're doing client work, teamwork.com is a really good fit. With Teamwork, you've got the ability to do time tracking, billing, invoicing, and client portals. And it's got really strong templates and reporting for agencies. Now, if you are running a lot of projects, there can be some performance lags, and there's a little bit more of a learning curve for non-technical people. Teamwork does have a free plan, but it's limited up to 5 projects. Paid plans start at $11 per user, and they say that their scale plan is their most popular for businesses, but unfortunately, like their enterprise, you're going to have to go through their sales team. Teamwork is going to be the best fit if you're an agency doing client work. Overall, I'd give them an A. Just like Slack, if you already have access to Google Workspace, it's natural that you might think, hey, maybe I'll do my project management out of Google Sheets. And you can be scrappy and take some of their newer features like timelines and tables and smart chips and use that to kind of cobble together your own project management system. It's still going to be a lot of manual tracking. You don't really have very good automation, and it can turn into chaos pretty quickly. So for most teams, unless you're doing really light project management, I probably wouldn't recommend doing it out of Google Sheets. For that reason, I give it a C. Rocketlane is another good tool for client work, especially if you're leading implementations. You get timelines, docs, communications all in one, and their client portal is one of the favorite ones that I've used personally. They also have more advanced features like resource management and financial management. I can't recommend it for internal project management, and it's also more expensive than many of the other tools. But with that additional expense, it starts at $19 per team member, and you have a minimum of 5 team members, and it goes all the way up to $99 per team member, though I do like the fact that they're publishing their enterprise pricing, but their advanced tiers really do come with a lot more advanced functionality, especially around finance. Despite being a bit more niche and more expensive, I give Rocketlane an A because they really do cover that agency, that implementation area really well. MeisterTask I consider kind of a step up from a Trello. It's got a nice Kanban, really easy to use, and it integrates nicely with MindMeister if you're using that for planning. It does lack depth around reporting and dependencies, and I wouldn't say it's super ideal beyond a small team. There's a limited free plan with up to 3 projects, and pricing starts at $13 per user per month. MeisterTask has a nice user interface, but I wouldn't consider it the most scalable, so we'll give it a B. Wrike is like a German luxury car. It's powerful, it's engineered to perfection, and it's full of buttons that you'll never use. I mean, really, I find Wrike to be one of the most polarizing platforms of the bunch. There's tons you can do from a customization standpoint, and people love that. You can really make it your own, but it takes some of that extra work to be able to do so. And so for others who are less technical, it can seem like overkill or a little bit intimidating as you start to use it. But it comes jam-packed with features. There's good collaboration and request handling. You can build request forms. You can do feedback and proofing. You can have collaboration with external users and approval processes. There is a free plan available, and then paid plans start at $10 per user per month. And Wrike made the decision to have both user minimums as well as user maximums on their tier. So for example, you have to have 2 users on team, but as soon as you hit 15 or 16, I should say, then you're up to the next plan on business plan. So Wrike overall, there's a ton that you can do there. I definitely recommend trialing that one to see if it's the right fit for you, but we'd give it an A. Now that wraps up our tier list. And honestly, the tools that I put into the A and S tier are going to be great at helping you run and operate your business, even automating some of your functions. But I know the question that many of you are asking about your business is, what tools can I actually use to grow the revenue for my business? Well, click here to watch the next video where I go through the best CRMs to power your sales processes, how you can automate that, stop leads from falling through the cracks, and honestly see that uplift in revenue you've been looking for. See you on the other side.